That thing is gorgeous, man. Oh, what? 20? So you should repeat that. You got the fender, to get it. It's just hard to get a really good shot of it with these cars all around. Said we're not going to believe what the local people tell us, the city, the government, the county. We're starting to question everything. That thing is gorgeous, man. Oh, what? 26 Ford, and it's a convertible.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it had a hardtop on it at one time? Yeah.
I didn't get a top with it. I didn't get nothing with it. I found these parts all around.
Oh yeah, just pieced it together. Wood wheels.
Yeah, it's got wooden wheels.
Yeah. Hey, look at you funny when you go to try to balance them, don't you?
Got beads in them.
Beads. Hard to pull it out. So you should repeat that. You got the fender, the front fender from California.
Back fenders from Arizona.
And
the doors from Kansas.
Doors from Kansas.
The hood and the grill shell from Ohio.
Ohio.
And that's about all the states I covered. Let's see, did I get any?
What is this? So you can.
That originally was the gas tank. I have the gas. The gas tank was up under the dash here.
Okay.
I didn't put the gas up there with
You
me.
got it in the back
I put
there.
it in the truck.
It's hard to get it. It's just hard to get a really good shot of it with these cars all around it. But I think I done pretty good. Said it was 19 horsepower. Look at that. Oh, you can see the flag waving. Oh, there he goes. I thought he was going around the building. So I came on around here anyway. Oh, he's gone. Yeah, you can see the flag waving. The wind's blowing out of the south, southwest. I'm standing here by this building again, and there's no wind blowing on me right this second. Put myself up against it. Maybe I can hold the camera for it enough to tell you. I don't know nothing. When it comes to this world system, I've been trying to tell people ever since 2006 what was going to happen. It was supposed to happen a lot sooner than it happened. But August the 8th, 2008, we jumped timelines. We shifted in a parallel situation where everything changed within an instant. And all the plans that were propagated, like Hillary becoming president, all that changed. If Hillary would have become president, we would have went into World War. Well, we're into actual World War III now, and it's breaking out on the surface, if you noticed lately. And but look at the time frame. This is 2024, and they are not going to seem like be able to accomplish what they want to accomplish. It's taken all this time from 2006 to now to literally know that there are people starting to wake up and search this stuff for themselves. their minds are becoming illuminated and their hearts are becoming filled of the wisdom of the eternal creator of all source, especially eternal light-bodied beings.
This is a big one, the sinner concept. There's a book that used to be a nice book once upon a time, before the Council of Nicaea got a hold of it in 325 AD on behalf of the Roman Empire and changed some books around. Once upon a time, the book that we call the Bible now was about 20 times bigger than it is, and the word sinner wasn't used once. We were not ever looked on by God as lowly, pathetic, bad creatures that could be manipulated by guilt to hopefully get back into God's favor. Why? So we wouldn't have to feel so miserable all the time down here. So maybe we could have what we needed. So maybe we didn't have to be afraid of death. There are teachings, the teachings that we're beginning to bring back here. The Cathara teachings were part of biblical texts. See, the Bible, what became the Bible, was part of a much larger series of books called the Maharata books. They are the teachings of the inner Christ. They are the teachings that Jesus taught. They were the teachings that John the Baptist and Miriam taught, that the Essenes taught 2,000 years ago. They were the teachings that, after that, the Cathari of southern France taught and were killed for it in 1244 AD when they were exterminated by, again, the Church of Rome, I believe, the Roman Catholic Church. There have been pieces of these books and the information contained within them preserved mostly in verbal tradition since they were last given in physical text, which was in the time of Jeshua, or Jesus, 2,000 years ago. Actually, 10 AD is when they were translated into writing. Jeshua was born in 12 BC, and by 10 AD, he and the people around him began the translations on the Maharata texts. The Maharata texts are part of a larger, huge body of information called the Emerald Covenant CDD plates, Cloister Doratura plates. They're ancient holographic discs that were given to this race in 246,000 BC, I believe. Yes, our race is that old and older. They were the original founders' race records of who we were, why we were put here, what our commission was, how science worked, how spirit works, how stargates work, how Ascension works, and how to have a good time while you're in 3D. Because God wanted us to have a good time, because God's a loving God, not a wrathful God. The Maharata teachings, which were the teachings that pertain specifically to the inner Christ, which is the inner Templar, the energy systems and consciousness and spirit systems that run the body hologram, they also had teachings of the Templar, what we're beginning the teachings of next weekend, where you're dealing with the body's anatomy, the body of the Earth's anatomy. The systems we'll learn about this weekend, about our subtle body anatomy, also pertain exactly and directly to the planet, to a galaxy, and to universes. It is the core template structure that the universe was built on, and every microcosmic aspect of the universe follows that same template pattern. It is the pattern by which energy from source circulates through the 15-dimensional system and individuates itself into all sorts of manifestations. These teachings, the teachings of the Maharata, the inner Christos, the inner Templar, were the teachings of the law of one. The law of one refers to a body of teachings that told us about our relationship to Source, where Source is a collective, intelligent consciousness, eternal, limitless, boundless, that chose, in order to understand itself better, to create a framework of reality where a hologram of three-dimensional manifestation could take place. So Source first turned itself into the hologram, the structures, dimensions, and time matrices, and energy body structures, and then Source continued to individuate itself, and it created suns and planets, stars, galaxies, and it continued to individuate itself, and it created life forms to live on those planets and stars and galaxies. The law of one teaches us that each and every one of us are a manifestation, a direct face and manifestation of the consciousness of God. Where is God? There comes a time when you really understand the breadth of the Maharata teachings, where you don't have a weird reaction to the statement of someone saying, I am God. It doesn't mean I'm God and I'm your boss. I get to boss over you because I'm God and you're not. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean I'm the creator of the universe and therefore I know everything and I can be arrogant about it and obnoxious. That's showing how much you don't think you're God, because ego doesn't fit into that consciousness. When you can say, I am God, you are acknowledging the fact that a piece of source individualized itself as you. And you'll also recognize at the same time that every other being is also a piece of source, individualized. Source is learning to know itself progressively, eternally, through manifesting itself in a multitude of forms. These are the teachings that Jesus taught. These are the teachings that the Essenes traveled from place to place to teach and got hunted by all sorts of people because of it. We have been taught in our cultures a gross twist and distortion of our relationship to God. We've been taught God is way out there someplace and we're way down here someplace, and there's this big space in between the two. We have been taught that not because they were the original teachings from Source, not because they were even the original teachings from Jesus. We were taught that because certain people, let's refer to them right now as the Illuminati collective, who are in places of power since the Atlantean period, which technically ended in 9558 BC, they decided they'd like to run the world. They decided they would like to take over this planet and its stargates. And they decided the way to do that was to hijack the consciousness of the other life forms that lived here. And they knew Templar mechanics, so they knew how to do it. Templar mechanics, the inner Christos teachings, they were used and twisted in a way that created an ability by certain Illuminati forces. They call themselves Illuminati because they were illuminated, and it was a very arrogant way of looking at it. They had the technical teachings left, but what they lost contact with was the law of one. What they lost contact with was the feeling of source within them, to where they could never hurt another life form because they knew it was only the self, because there was only one self. That was the God self, and that is all. The Illuminati races had the first distortions in genetic code on this planet. Their distortion in genetic code created within their consciousness a reciprocal distortion, where they began to make a division in their own understanding between God, themselves, and other people, to the point where they could inflict harm on other people and justify it by scientific teachings without having any conscience as to, or recognition that the people they were harming were another face, another aspect of themselves, because all were God. These teachings that once upon a time gave us freedom and the absolute free will joy to create, co-create with Source, the collective of what Source is. We were given those teachings for a joyful creation here. But they were taken and they were twisted into a control dogma. That control dogma took numerous types of forms. The first forms after Atlantis that came up through Sumerian culture, where we got stories of things like the god Marduk and these kind of things. We got creator god stories, God's Jehovah, God's Marduk, all sorts of gods. We had gods running around all over the place in the old Sumerian days. And then we had the Egyptian period, where even more gods came into the scene. And all of a sudden, gods weren't the living presence of spirit within you. Gods became things out there and beings who said, I'm your God. In other words, I'm your bully. We lost touch with the teachings that allowed the force and consciousness and cognition of being God to move through us. The teachings took us from saying, no, that's not right. This is God. You have to worship this out here, outside of yourself. Now, that couldn't have been done to us if the planetary grid distortions hadn't taken place. If that hadn't happened, if the things to the planetary grids hadn't happened and our DNA was functioning the way it was designed to function, nobody could have done that to us. Nobody could have told us a lie about the relationship to God, because we were a living embodiment of that knowing. But when our DNA became distorted, when our DNA templates became distorted, because the planetary grids became distorted, we lost the conscious awareness while we were in our 3D bodies of what our relationship to Source was. And it was very frightening, because we were an avatar race that was used to knowing that God was always with us and a part of us, and we were a part of God. We had
beings. That's our Father. Yeshua ben Joseph was here to show us and teach us and tell us that. And he came against that New World Order back then, and they killed him and destroyed any and everything that tried to tear their system down way back then. You don't think they're gonna put up a fight with a bunch of people questioning where they put their money at and how much money they got? Look, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna cut it off. I remember telling people that Warren Buffett and Bill Gates wasn't the richest people in the world. For years and years, they were the richest people in the world, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. And now they're telling people Jeff Bezos, the richest person in the world, and Elon Musk. That is such bull crap. The people that are the richest people in the world, you'll really never know their names. They're worth quadrillions of dollars that's been hoarded up all the way back to the treasure of Solomon. These people are the remnants of the, or maybe you could say it like this, the Anunnaki, the Nephilims, the fallen angels. These are the people that were the servants that lived in the palaces and did the beads and the deeds and all of the pencil pushing things way back then. They learned all the tricks of the Luciferian modality of creating their reality using black magic. So as the world got reset way back then, these people watched what happened to the Nephilims and the Anunnaki, and they went underground. So they went underground. And when they surfaced, they had all the wisdom to rebuild. But their flesh and blood, the ones that are not, has to be proven in your own thinking, because that's just too hard to comprehend. What do you mean, buddy? There's extraterrestrials here? Hell yeah, been here. This AI is not the only AI there ever was. There's already been an AI here that was the egregore type that could manipulate the mass consciousness of the collective, and was very good at it up until now. And now there's outliers. There's errants. They call them errants. But there's awakening people. That's what it is. And we go against the grain. We're not going to believe what the local people tell us, the city, the government, the county. We're starting to question everything, especially on the world scene. We're questioning things that they tell us was the truth, knowing that it never has been the truth. All right, y'all do your research, study things. I might put some links in the descriptions that will go to some of the things I'm talking about. I love you. Oh, I shook the camera really bad. I love you. Keep watching my channel. Thank you for participating with the comments. I really enjoy that too. Talk to you later.